This is Chase Engel from the band NightShift Special, and I'm on Talking About Rock.
All right, today's guest returns with a tongue-in-cheek rocker that leans into grit, humor, and pure Midwest attitude. Hailing from Saginaw, Michigan, NightShift Special returns with their new single, White Trash. Joining us now, let's welcome Chase Engel from NightShift Special and their super producer, the legendary Chuck Alkazian. Guys, how's it going?
Good. It's good to be here. Thanks for having us, Rob.
Yes, so glad you both could join. Definitely, I know you're both busy. Chase, let's start a little bit with you. So this is the new track. It's the follow-up to Blackout. And I guess this came about when you kind of overheard some offhand comments from what I was reading. That's kind of what started this, right?
Yeah, I've got some family that lives out west, and they were harassing us one time in fun. But that's all you guys got out in the Midwest, just white trash. And I kind of thought, Midwest white trash. We were playing into it, and then I was like, even kind of talking about some of the stuff like in the song, in the video. I was kind of like picturing it to myself. I'm like, oh, that'd be a cool video.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, maybe we'll write a song around it. So we wrote the riff and wrote a song around it.
Yeah, very, very cool. And you guys are, again, teamed up with Chuck here, who's produced, obviously, such big names, Pop Evil, Soundgarden, Tantric, Filter, so many at Pearl Sound Studios. How is the process working together here? Have you guys have got the niche going on now?
Yeah, so it's really nice to work with Chuck just because we've been working, not only have we been working with him now for a while, we knew him a little bit before this through Brian, our buddy Brian but we've been working on him not only for a while, but we've worked on so many different songs together that you haven't even heard. We really figured out not only each other's style for in the studio, but our styles outside of the studio. He knows kind of how I'm going to write. He knows how I'm going to record the vocals. He knows how I'm going to be in studio and vice versa. I know how he's going to be in studio. I know kind of what he's going to expect from me on all fronts, whether it be writing or recording vocals. And then I know post up, I know how he's going to mix. So that's an important thing. It's an important thing, It's like knowing how the meat's gonna taste after you cook it. Right. It's the best way I can.
Yeah. So Chuck, what's your take on working with upcoming bands? Obviously, you've worked with so many veteran artists. You've worked with. How is it different working with some of these younger guys?
What's really interesting is I don't really think of bands as new, old, veteran, young. It's really interesting because once I get in the zone, it's kind of like, what does the song speak to me as? What does the band want out of their vision? And it's really funny because Chase and I have a relationship outside of music as far as being buddies and bros. So we have this intrinsic connection. I actually enjoy working with NightShift a lot because they have this innate ability to bring fun to their music, and it's super kitschy and fun. And I use the word fun because I think everything's super formulated nowadays, and you can hear it. We're back to this analog mindset. I'm hoping we get to, and I think the boys really lend themselves to just being true to what they believe and their vibes of the song. And it's a riot. I'm not gonna lie. We have a blast in the studio, but it's always get down to work, and then we'll step back, we'll kind of chill for a little bit and listen to what we did. And the boys are super pro. So I think that makes a really huge difference with a lot of bands, even a lot of label bands that I work with right now that have been touring and on, I guess you call it major label. Some of them just kind of, they don't care about their music as much as they used to when they first started out. And then there's this super excitement that's happening with the boys with NightShift Special, because like they want people to hear their music. They're not just concerned with like fame and fortune and being a rock star. I mean, of course, I'm sure that's the underlying current driving them, but like honestly, they just love playing music. Like when you watch them play, I really get a kick. Like this White Trash single, when I started hearing the lyrics, I'm like, Chase, are you kidding me right now?
Right.
I'm like, I mean, look at this screen. He's sitting on a toilet. I mean, that's
I know that was very gutsy releasing that promo pic, I'll have to say.
I love it. I love it because, it takes a lot of balls to be funny, to be real, to be funny. Like when I mean funny, not contrived funny, like I mean like live it. There's something to be said about being that, and I truly think Chase has always been that guy to me. Like I can sit and talk football with him. I mean, we talk about football more than we do music, it seems like. Don't you think, Chase?
Yeah, we talk a little bit about everything, which is what's fun. It's sometimes we need to break ourselves out of, because we're so very cordial with each other that sometimes we got to be like, we got to get back to it. We'll talk about, or we love talking music too that's not ours, whether it be guys like Tesla, like that Chuck and I know, or bands he's worked with, or bands that we know, like, or mutually know. So we can get off track really good, and we got to always kind of, but we always get it done though. We do always get it done.
Yeah. And what's really interesting is our love. That Chase brings up a good point. Our love of music is very, very, we have a lot of commonalities. Like obviously I'm older than the guys, quite a bit, but we listen to a lot of the same stuff. It's quite interesting. We've got something in the works brewing right now that I can't really talk about. A new song. I don't know if
Rob's heard it, so yeah.
Yeah, I got a little bit of a taste of it, but we'll keep it under wraps for right now. But it's really interesting, Chase. I think like you guys definitely take chances, and you're always trying something new.
There you go.
And I that's very gutsy, for sure.
Yeah, it's honest though too. Right. It's honest, and Chuck knows that. It's actually more honest than a lot of the stuff that we were doing in the past. I think before we were trying, and it's funny because a lot of people, when they hear the newer stuff, say like White Trash or the next one that's going to come out or moving forward, I think a lot of people think that we're steering more into a gimmick now, and we're actually not. The only gimmick is the fun. It's really not. It's just fun. That's what we like to do. It's not, you're like, oh, you're just trying to be like Kid Rock. Like, well, I love Kid Rock, but it's just, it's
maybe
a fun
there's some
thing.
Elements of that in there, but that's not the whole deal.
Right? No, and I love Kid. I mean, but it's not not trying to be anybody, but it's purely fun. That's it.
Yeah,
but it's
we were talking
like
about that a little bit before the interview and stuff.
Yeah.
With some of the ways you guys have had, tried to describe your music or your format or whatever you want to call it. Like we were talking Kid Rock, fronts Aerosmith, and I think another time you said like Cher fronts Creed or something like there's all these different crazy ones. I like the Aerosmith one myself, but yeah, I was like, it's very different than what's going on right now, and I think that's what makes it stand out. It's fun, it's energy, and it's different. That's what I think makes it stand out.
It's tough to get people, and I think Chuck can probably. I mean, I think we've had this conversation with Chuck, and it's tough to be different. Especially now, like you think it would really stand out, and it's tough to get people to to bite into it. It's people have had pepperoni pizza for so long. It's tough to get them to eat the barbecue chicken pizza. Yeah. Once it catches, it'll really ignite, really some hope. It's either gonna blow up or totally flop, I don't have a ton of control over that aside from doing the best that I can
Right.
with Chuck and vice versa. But it's very honest. It's what we want to do. I'm not going to try to fit into a box too much. Or not at all, actually. And it,
Yeah.
it's tough to be different. It really is, because it's people kind of, especially kind of seems like nowadays, which is weird because you think with the internet that you're exposed to so much that it would be a lot different. But a lot of music on there, and I'm not knocking anybody, it sounds very similar.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely in the U.S., right? There's like a format, there's a way of sounding, there's,
yeah,
the songs are kind of all formatted the same. And like you said, people get used to that and they know they can sell to that audience. So it's like, let's keep making more of that. Let's keep making more of that.
If it works
Right.
for you and that's what you like to do, I would never
Right.
knock anybody for doing anything, especially
Right.
if it works.
Right.
Especially if it works.
But like I said, that's why I think it's ballsy for you. You're staying true to what you want to do. You're giving it a shot to see how it works. It's fun, energetic music. You know what I mean? But it's got to get in front of people and see it.
Yeah, and I've surrounded myself, or I shouldn't even say surrounded myself. Maybe they kind of fell in my lap, or and vice versa with like the band guys that I have. I wish they could have been here. And guys like Chuck and Gina, who's just we all just kind of came together, and I love doing it not only for the music factor, and I do still love creating music, and I do enjoy the struggle a bit. Don't get me wrong, I'd rather get beyond it, but
Right.
I love the struggle though of I don't always enjoy the struggle of like not making a ton of money doing it.
Right.
I enjoy the
Right.
struggle of we talked about this the other day when we left Chuck's studio. You go in and you've got me and you've got Con and you've got James and Zan and Jimmy and you've got Chuck, and everybody's kind of got a different idea. And for the first hour, you're listening to it and everybody's got a different thing and they're trying to play their parts and everybody's trying to throw everything in at once. And Chuck does a pretty good job, reeling us in, or I do too. I'll have to reel them in, and the struggle of that. And Chuck gets this. The struggle of the first 2 hours and then the awesomeness of the last 20 minutes when you listen to it the final time is like, that's why it was worth it.
Yeah,
That,
right.
it's like we're lifting weights, or you're like,
Right.
oh, that's why it was worth it.
Right.
I still love that. And the fun thing is it doesn't always turn out. We've
Mhm.
done songs, Chuck and I talked about, we did a couple on the last batch that we were kind of like, we really gave it our best. Didn't really love them. But that's what makes them special when you do love them. And that's
Right.
what's still fun about doing it.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, Chuck, you're the owner of Pearl Sound Studios. Tell us a little bit about your facility there and the business model. What's up there?
Oh, well, we've been in Canton, Michigan since really around 1980. The studio was originally built by my dear friend Ben Gross, who is now located in Burbank, California, who's been out there since around 1997, which he kind of made the breakout. He's an Ann Arbor, Michigan guy who made the trek to Los Angeles. But Ben's an amazing producer. He's a great soul. He's produced everyone from Marilyn Manson, Disturbed. I mean, I can't even. His credits are so mind-boggling. It's just pretty much anything you've heard from like 1988 to 2020. It's probably got Ben somewhere on it. And my business partner and I took over the facility in around 2000, and I've had it ever since. And I've hosted everyone from NightShift Special to, like you said, Pop Evil, Soundgarden, Trust Company, Eminem. I love music. I work on a lot of different genres of music. I don't ever pigeonhole myself. I have great management. I have a great team that's behind me that helps me find musicians who are passionate about their craft as well as good songwriters and just love entertaining people. And I've always kind of laid under the radar. I've never been like that huge, Eddie Kramer big producer that's done gazillions and gazillions of records and is known for like 5 huge records. I'm kind of like the guy who's known for like 1,000 like really badass records instead of like, the cat's meow of the top creme de la creme. God, I wish I could be Bruce Swedien and or Quincy Jones and record a Thriller. I'd love it, but it's kind of like I'm kind of like the utilitarian producer who kind of just loves everybody and just really enjoys making great music. So
Yeah, very, very cool. One question I wanted to ask you, and I've always wondered this.
yeah.
Obviously, back in the day, studios used a lot of studio musicians when they needed to fill in, to especially if a band was going on a tour and they need to redo something or whatever the case may be. Maybe they needed a solo or whatever. How has that worked today? Do we still see studio musicians? I hear that's kind of really fallen off.
That's a really good question. I think with the advent of digital recording, I think everyone's a studio musician at this point. I think a lot of guys are on the road cutting records, using scratch pads, in Logic and Pro Tools. I get tracks from people on their tour bus that I actually use on their records, because they have good recording setups. Are you going to cut drums? Probably not. Are you going to do the majority of your record?
Right.
On a tour bus? Probably not. I've seen it. But studio musicians are used a lot with more solo artists. When you're a producer, like I play a lot of instruments, but like the last thing that I want to do is, the last thing I want to do is sit behind a drum kit while I'm producing a record, because it's a lot. It takes a lot out of you. And so I might bring in a drummer to play the drums on a solo artist. I might bring in a guitar player who's got a certain vibe for an artist. So I think studio musicians are pretty valuable, but I'm in a different genre of creation. Now, if you're talking about bands that can't play in the studio,
well, that's a whole nother subject, right? That's a whole nother subject of names we can probably talk about for a little while. But
yeah, I plead the fifth on that one. But I will say this: when Universal is calling your phone 20 times a day going, are we able to go to mastering yet? And you're still cutting solos because the guitar player just can't make up his mind. You start to think a little bit.
Right.
No, but I'm pretty transparent about that. Chase will tell you he's seen me do a lot of different things, not because with other artists too, not because the musicians can't do it, just because of time and all that stuff. So it's funny. That's a good question, actually.
Yeah, I just wonder that, you know what I mean? Because it used to be a big thing back in the day. I think it's kind of fallen off. So Chase, back to you. I know we talked a little bit about you. There's a new single. We're not going to really talk about that. That's going to be coming up at some point. But is there a time frame you guys are looking at maybe to put this all together as a full album? Is there a title yet?
No. Personally, honestly, not. Nothing against the full albums. I mean, I shouldn't say I come from a time. I kind of do.
Yes, you do.
All right. Well, we won't get into that. Let's see my ID. The bands that I loved came off of iconic. The songs that I love came off of pretty much iconic albums.
Right. And I talked to artists about this, like it's still kind of debated. It's like, should we do singles and just do singles for a while and kind of see how that works? And that works for a lot of people. Or do we do the usual game? You put out 2 or 3 singles, then, a while down the road, then you put an album out, or you think about it later or whatever, people are back and forth on that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We do things a little bit differently. And in no way am I like, crapping on the question or the idea of an album at all, but I really have no desire to do like the album thing at this point in time. I would love to, it's almost funny, like if you think about putting out just greatest hits, like just compiling all kind of the stuff you get. I think when the time comes, that'll be right.
Yeah.
Can I
when
speak?
we're
Can I speak on this for
go
one
for it.
second?
Yeah.
So what's interesting is there's a whole version of Chase that kind of was developing, putting out material, working with different people, finding their place, him finding his songwriting comfortable place. And I think the band has now found that. So to kind of put it in layman's terms, I guess a lot of people put out singles, right now because
Right.
they're kind of feeling their way through
Right. Exactly.
the
Yep.
forest because it's a different time period now, as everyone knows, and I think they're at a really cool place where as the songwriting changes and the style and everything is just kind of coming to like this symbiotic moment. They have plenty of material to do a lot of great records, but they want like the record that makes them proud. And I think, Chase, don't you think that's kind of like when that time comes, that's where you're headed?
That's what I'm saying. I agree 100%. It's like when the album time comes, and I hope we get there. I hope we get to the point in time where a label asks us for 10 songs, 12 songs, put that together. And
Right.
we would, how we would do that, Chuck. We've talked about it a million times. We'd sit in, we'd do this. Right now, the band is evolving. Not even evolving. Like Chuck said, like it evolved. It actually evolved so much that I'm catching back up with it. Like, all right, I figured out what I want to do. Now we're implementing it. And we've got a bunch of songs. We did a bunch of songs with Chuck. You know that. Like our favorite ones we've done, Chuck, people really have never even heard.
Yeah.
And I'm not, well, aside from a Blackout White Trash that I put in that category, but the ones we're sitting on a ton that we're like, oh, this is going to be amazing. But yet we still continue. A lot of it for me about putting out songs, because I'm sitting on songs, people are like, why didn't you put that out? Well, it's about timing too.
Definitely. It's 100% about timing.
Yeah, we're doing all kinds of stuff, and we're doing what kind of fits in the moment and what we think is really going to be the setup for this ramp up. And yeah, I would love to do a full album at some point in time. I don't think the consumer can digest a full album right now. This isn't.
I was just going to say.
It's the best way I can put it. You can't digest a full album. I don't even think the consumer right now can digest a full song anymore. Honestly, or a full video. It's got to be you put a 20-second clip on TikTok, and it's like, no, you need to cut it down to 10. It's crazy how that works, and it's true.
I think we're getting back to more of an analog mindset. I think people. I mean, I might be a little premature here, but I'm going to go on a limb. I just did an interview the other day, and I said, I think people are tired of AI, and everyone says, well, it's so new. You don't know. It can help you and this and that. Yeah, it can help you. But I think from the arts, I think people really want to be out seeing live bands. People want to see live music. They want something to believe in. They don't want it to be the flavor of the month. And I think you're going to see a lot of that. I mean, I can tell you the people that I've been working with, they are so passionate about the connection, the people connection. That COVID really did us dirty, man. And there's a lot of younger people that are just getting out of college. They graduated during COVID, and they don't know. They half of them have never been to a bar or a club to see a band, and it's quite interesting how this analog mindset is coming back. LPs, cassettes, CDs. People want tangible stuff. So it's quite interesting. But you guys are right. I mean, like seriously, like it's a flip mentality. TikTok.
Yeah. It's amazing how, if you look at like the band model or the art model of music from, not to get too deep here, but from the 60s or 50s or started, popular music on until about the 2000s. I mean, the music, the model has flip-flopped completely.
Right. That's what I was talking to somebody about the other day. It's like we're back in the 50s or 60s where it's all singles.
Well, not only that, I'm saying like the what was important back then, like they were like, well, you need the artist to be like, well, they got to play live and they got to write the tunes and they got to, put out full albums, because the the consumer wants to listen to the full album top down. And they got to do all this stuff. They got to have a full band because you can't just travel with guys. Now it's the complete opposite. Like, well, don't do an album because people can't do that. Well, you don't really have to sing or play live. Like, we can fake all that. Playing in the studio, writing, you don't really got to do that. We can do AI to do that. It's like, not that that's all true, but I'm saying it's crazy. Like I forget the right word, like comment, like the dichotomy of the total shift in how things were and how they are completely different. Hopefully there is a cycle. I would rather go back to the model of the 80s where, and not that I'm even the greatest live singer, but that's kind of what makes it fun too, just not that still live being very raw and being, because I'm up there jumping around and trying to do splits and moonwalks and stuff, and you're out of breath, and that's what makes it good though too. It's what was fun about that
obviously
point.
I come from the time where it's album oriented rock, and that's how things were rolled out at that point. You know what I mean? So I hope eventually we maybe we get to that point. Hopefully, maybe I don't know if that's possible again, but
I don't either.
cool. The last thing I'll have to say on is I look forward to a live one for you guys down the road. That's going to be fun when you guys do a live one.
That'd be great.
A live album?
Yeah, that's going to be fun. Because that's what broke a lot of people back in the day, right?
Yeah, Bob
Seger, they were like,
Kiss, yeah.
Kiss, Peter Frampton. It's like people didn't understand these guys. It's like, well, we need to show them what it sounds like live.
Yeah, I mean, look at Bob Seger. Like his biggest hits were live.
We're off Live Bullet, right?
Yeah, I mean, look at Kiss.
It'll be interesting when you guys get to that point. I really look forward to hearing that. Definitely, that's all I'm going to say.
I would love to do one. I'm too much of a perfectionist, though. I don't know if I could live with it. Chuck knows that.
They remixed Kiss Alive 1.
I don't know.
Yeah, Kiss Alive 1 was supposed to be never remixed, and now we're hearing all the extra remixes they did on that. So
don't get me started.
All right. So one last thing from you, Chuck. What advice would you give to bands or musicians starting out? Who are looking to record for the first time? Can you give them a couple words of wisdom when they're out? They got some music. They're like, I want to come in the studio for the first time. What would you tell them before they start, plunking down their money and figuring it out?
Well, there's some logistics there. That's a double-ended question. So I will say this.
This might be my territory, actually. I should give them what not to do.
No, I'll tell you. I'll let Chase tell them what not to do. What I'm going to say that I think you have to write great songs, and I think you have to learn to write great songs, and the only way you do that is to really record them and fail and get your head straight. It takes a long time. You have to. It's interesting. I get a lot of people call me and like, oh, the band's gonna practice for like 3 months and then they're gonna come into the studio, and I'm just sitting there going like, no, don't. You're gonna take all the magic out of all the songwriting. You're just gonna beat it to death. You're gonna just completely not.
There won't be any energy left in it anymore.
Zero. And I think that's a big mistake a lot of younger bands do. They're like, well, Uncle John's given us, 20 grand to go in the studio and make some music, and we got to be perfect, or these guys are going to laugh at us and we're going to fail. And that's not the case at all. If you don't shop studios, shop producers. You want to shop people who have your best intrinsic thought, your value system, your songs. Like when people call me, they don't care what gear I have. They care about like, do I understand them as a human? Or am I a good hang? If I can't do 101, if I don't have a great studio and great tools to make, a great record, I look at it. I use the construction analogy. You can own all of the Milwaukee drills and tools, and you can have all the construction accoutrement, shall we say, but if you don't know how to do construction and you're not a good general foreman and you don't have the mindset to build something, all those tools are irrelevant. It's like everyone, like when people go to do home improvement projects, they go to Home Depot and they're like, oh, I can buy any tool to do anything. But if you don't do the research and do your homework on how to do it correctly, it doesn't matter what tools you have. There's an experience level. There's Chase will tell you. I mean, I sound like a grandpa sometimes. I'm like, back in my day, they called it a beaver. You know what I'm saying? I can go on a tangent all about like,
Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber. No, I think bands just really need to know, to stay in their lane, know their path. Know, I was always taught to surround myself with people who are better than me at what I do, because I think it makes a huge difference. I like to hang out with people who love music, who think musically. I make records like a fan. Like I want to make a record that I'm gonna put on in the car and go, that's fun. That's
Right.
awesome. Like I don't care what guitar amps I use all the time. I don't care if it's, perfect. I try to trash things up as much because we live in this super nonlinear world of digital audio where, I mean, you can clean everything up. Everything is perfect. And that's like what Chase was saying earlier. All of those little idiosyncrasies is what made the first Boston record, even though Tom Scholz was a perfectionist. There's still all this like gabagoo stuff happening around, all the zhuzh, that happens. And I would just say, don't beat it to death. Get in the studio and make some records. And if you can't afford to go into a big facility with a professional producer, at least try. Chase, wouldn't you say, like, wouldn't you rather go and do like one or two songs really well than to do like 10 poopy ones?
Absolutely. I've done both.
Right.
I've done both. If I had advice almost for smaller level bands, I would be like, if you not that I'm not a smaller level band that I'm talking down to them, but younger band.
There you go.
Maybe that hasn't recorded.
Less experienced.
Like, right. There you go.
I would say go try to record. I don't even care if it's in your uncle's basement or something. Go try to do that and see how that comes out. Start there. Start with a demo, and it's cool because a lot of times nowadays you have kind of the software in order to record your demos. Like, do a demo of it. Now, my other thing would be the total double-edged sword, and this took me longer than it should have to realize, is one, trust your producer if you think they're good. If they're good, trust your producer more than you think that you should. A little bit. Not fully, more than you think that you should. And I do that with Chuck. I really do. I even when I think very strongly on something, even if if I feel over the top, he'll respect me and say, okay, all right, well, a lot of times I'll give him that 51%, the tipping, and it's a lot of times he's right. And if he's not, I'll tell him, and a lot of times he'll agree. But that's why it works well. He'll go, you know what? Actually, no. I'll tell him, no, we did this, and he'll go, no, you were right on that. And then I'll tell him a lot of times, which I tell him more than I'd like to admit. No, you were right. You were right on that. Yeah, let's do that. Especially mixing.
But see, I do that too. Like I have to step the band in categories, because there are times where I don't want to shut the band down from a performance standpoint, from the capture process. I don't want to shut the band down from their ideas. But sometimes the ideas start flowing and it starts ruining it. Not you guys, not Chase and the guys, but just in general.
It can. I know what you're saying.
It happens. But like a lot of times you'll get, do we need this extra guitar part here? Or do you need this extra vocal here? And then I'll say something like, make them rewind the song and enjoy it again. It's not the last time they're going to listen to it. I like when songs, I'm a big, like, I love listening to Pearl Jam 10, right? It's just like, because every time I throw it on, I hear something like weird in it or something new, because none of it was perfect. And I think there are elements that are missing in music now because everyone's trying to make everything perfect. Because if they have a perfect product, oh, well, I'm going to get a record deal. Oh, I'm going to be famous. Oh, I'm going to be successful. And I think it's kind of sexy when things are kind of mishmashy, and we sit there and argue about it in a good way, though.
Yeah, but we always come out with something good, and at the end of the day, we'll agree on it. We come,
Mhm.
and that's what's important about finding the right producers, that you'll agree at the end of the day, and you get the end goal. So that
Yeah,
actually, I just thought of it when you were talking, Chug, is you don't have to, just like you said, you don't have to beat the living hell out of a song before you come in, because number one, you're gonna get too tied to it. You're gonna
yeah,
get the old demoitis, like I am the number one candidate of demoitis,
yeah.
which is where you're too tied to the demo. You can't change anything at all. And number two, don't beat the hell out of the song just playing, but come in with a vision
Yeah.
and keep that vision. You know, have the concept there and stick to that vision. Don't worry just about um, you know, making sure that the, kick drum
It,
hits on every four.
it's funny. That's a good point. And the vision is different than parts of the song. See,
Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
something that a lot of younger musicians don't understand. Well, this is what I heard in my head when I wrote it in my living room. Okay, now we're on to this part of the song. Stick to the vision. You know the message behind the song. You know what the lyrical content is. You know the cadence. You know what the rhythm is. You know the chord structure. Are you taking away from your message in the song? And that's where sticking to your vision comes into play. Just because you heard a guitar in your head doesn't mean it's going to work, because sometimes, we hear things. This just happened I well, a couple months ago. Like, we were really struggling for this one guitar part, which at the end was so easy. We just pulled it out because it opened up the song, and we were like, wait, we don't need anything there. And sometimes that's where the vision, you have to stay true to
But
the vision.
explore it. And we always explore everything in a
True.
time constraint, because it's not like we have just months and months to do it. We got like
Right.
8 hours or 10 hours or whatever. We do it.
Truth.
And in the one of the biggest things too is that I just thought what Chuck was talking about too, like where a lot of guys come in, like I hear this in my head. Well, number one, try to flesh out what you hear in your head before you come in. But number two, find a producer that knows what you're hearing in your head. Chuck already
Facts.
knows what I'm going to tell him before I even tell him. That's why he's like, he'll put his hand up, like, stop. I know exactly. I'm going to do that. Don't even say anything. I know I'm going to do this before you even bitch
Yeah.
at me about it. I'm going to already do it. And then he does it. And I'm like, okay, yep. That's what I
Yeah.
wanted. Yep. And he's like, just don't even say anything.
It's okay though. It's okay though. That's part of the working relationship. And I think
Exactly.
people take that as like control things, and it's not control. It's
No.
synergy. It's synergy. There's a
Right, yeah.
difference of synergy. And some of the greatest production teams in the world, I mean, look at some of the most famous records. Can you only imagine sitting in the studio with George Martin and John Lennon and Paul McCartney and George Harrison?
Right. I would think there would be a lot of fights going on back in the day for a lot of that. That would be my first thought.
Well, they didn't
I mean,
have the
maybe.
technology. I don't know if there really was. I mean, they didn't have the
Yeah.
technology to argue. They only had, 2 4-tracks synced together. I mean, they were like, okay, we've got to make sure this pot goes down right. It has to go down. And they might have tried it. And, I mean, they had engineers that were wearing lab coats and like, cleaning tape heads every 30 seconds after every take. It's quite interesting. And I just think we live in another dimension now. The Matrix.
Yep. Definitely. Well, it seems like you guys are totally in sync, and that's definitely what the artist needs to definitely find that producer. Very cool. All right, so folks, NightShift Special, the new single, White Trash, is out now. Check it out. It's streaming everywhere. And Chase, where should they go online to check you guys out?
Oh, all right. You got Facebook, you got YouTube, you got Spotify, you got Pornhub, you got, TikTok, you got the whole nine. You can find me on pretty much anything. So,
All right, and if you folks need some more information or want to hear about Pearl Sound Studios, where should they go, Chuck?
You can find us on Instagram, or actually the best way to go is our website, pearlsoundstudios.com, and all of our links are there. We're on pretty much every social media format, as also myself, Chuck Alkazian. I check all my emails. I'm on it like Johnny on the spot. So if anyone needs to get a hold of me, you can find me at any of those places.
All right, great. So Chase Engel, Chuck Alkazian, thank you guys so much for being with us. Really appreciate it.
thank you, Rob.
All right,
Thank
so
you,
that
Rob.
wraps up this episode of Talking About Rock. Thanks to my guests today, Chase and Chuck. And for you folks out there, we hope you're doing your part by keeping the torch alive and supporting live music wherever you are.
Peace.
Guys, again, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.